A heat dome over the city. Outside, the air is at 102 degrees. The pavement is too hot to touch. The grass has gone brown. Inside an ordinary suburban house, the thermostat reads 73. The cat is sleeping on a vent. A glass of cold water sits on the kitchen counter, sweating gently. Step from the porch into the living room and the temperature drops nearly 30 degrees in the time it takes to close the door. Most people never stop to ask what just happened. So here's the question worth asking. How does a metal box bolted to the side of your house take 102-degree air and turn it into 73-degree comfort in seconds? Where does all that heat go? Why is the unit outside always running hot, even when the air inside is freezing? And how is it that the machine in your wall, which feels so obviously designed to keep you comfortable, was actually invented in 1902 to solve a problem that had nothing to do with people at all? Here's the first thing most people get wrong. They think an air conditioner makes cold air. It doesn't. There's no cold-making factory inside that machine. Cold isn't a thing you can produce. What your air conditioner actually does is move heat. It takes the heat that's already inside your house and dumps it outside. The reason the unit on your patio blasts hot air at you is not a flaw. It's the entire point. Everything cold in your living room got cold because the heat was carried somewhere else. And here's the second thing most people get wrong. They think the air conditioner's job is to lower temperature. That's only half the job. The other half, the harder half, is removing humidity. When the air inside your house is 95% humid, it feels miserable even at 75 degrees. When the air is 30% humid, 80 degrees can feel pleasant. The thing that actually makes a hot day unbearable isn't the temperature, it's the moisture. Air conditioners pull water out. F the air at the same time they cool it. That's why a small puddle drips from the outdoor unit on a humid day. That puddle is water that used to be in your living room air. Quick favor before we keep going. If you've ever wondered about the engineering hiding inside the appliances that keep your daily life livable, hit that subscribe button. We dig into the science behind the things you depend on without thinking. Now back to the AC. The mechanism is the same one inside your refrigerator, a sealed loop, a fluid called refrigerant. A compressor squeezes that fluid until it's hot and under pressure. The hot pressurized gas runs through coils outside your house, where it dumps its heat into the outdoor air and condenses into a warm liquid. That liquid passes through a tiny valve, where the pressure suddenly drops. The fluid gets extremely cold. It runs through coils inside your house, soaks up the heat from your indoor air, and turns back into a gas. The cycle starts over. Compress, condense, expand, evaporate. Thousands of times a day, all summer long. The hum you hear from the unit outside is heat being lifted out of your living room, drop by drop, and released into your yard. Now here's the history almost nobody knows. The air conditioner wasn't invented for human comfort. It was invented to fix a paper problem. In July 1902, a 25-year-old engineer named Willis Carrier, 1 year out of Cornell University, was working for a Buffalo company that made industrial heating systems. A consulting engineer brought him a strange case. A printing plant in Brooklyn, the Sackett and Wilhelms Lithographing Company, was struggling with a humor magazine called Judge. The humid New York summer air was soaking into the paper. The paper was expanding. The 4-color ink registration kept shifting between print passes. The colors didn't line up. The ink wouldn't dry. The magazine was missing deadlines. Carrier solved it on July 17, 1902, with a sketch. Run the room's air over a set of chilled coils. The coils would cool the air. The water vapor in the air would condense onto the cold coils, just like dew on grass in the morning. The drier, cooler air would go back into the printing room. The paper would stay stable. The colors would line up. He targeted 70 degrees and 55% humidity in winter, 80 degrees and 55% humidity in summer. Those are still close to standard comfort levels today. For the first 20 years of its existence, air conditioning had nothing to do with comfort. It went into textile mills, candy factories, tobacco warehouses, pharmaceutical plants. Carrier eventually patented his design as the apparatus for treating air. In 1922, he invented the centrifugal chiller, which was efficient enough to cool a building rather than a single room. Movie theaters were the first major public spaces to install it. Audiences in the 1920s sometimes went to films just to escape the summer heat for 2 hours. Residential air conditioning didn't become normal until after World War II. Window units appeared in mass market sizes in the late 1940s. By the 1960s, central air was spreading through new suburban construction, and that's when air conditioning quietly did something far bigger than make people comfortable. It redrew the map of America. Here's the part that should genuinely surprise you. Before air conditioning, places like Phoenix, Houston, Atlanta, and Miami were considered nearly unlivable in summer. The population stayed small. Industries stayed north. Then air conditioning arrived. Suddenly, the South and Southwest became viable. From 1950 to 2020, the Sun Belt absorbed tens of millions of internal migrants. Phoenix grew from 100,000 people to over 1.6 million. Houston went from 600,000 to 2.3 million. Atlanta and Dallas exploded. Lee Kuan Yew, the founding leader of Singapore, called air conditioning one of the signal inventions of history and credited it with making tropical civilization possible. Without the air conditioner, modern Singapore, Dubai, Bangkok, and Riyadh might not exist as we know them. Entire cities have been built on the assumption that the machine in the wall will never stop running. You've been living surrounded by versions of this same cycle without realizing it. Your refrigerator. Same fluid, same compressor, same loop, just smaller. Your car's air conditioning. Same cycle powered by a belt off the engine. The heat pump heating millions of modern homes. Same cycle run in reverse. It pulls heat from cold outdoor air and pumps it inside. The dehumidifier in your basement. Same idea, optimized to drain water instead of cooling rooms. The walk-in cooler at the back of your grocery store. Same cycle, larger compressor. Every refrigerated truck, every server farm, every hospital surgical suite, every commercial airliner cruising at 35,000 feet, all running variations of Willis Carrier's 1902 sketch. Now for the honest trade-off. Air conditioners are not free. They account for somewhere between 12 and 19% of total U.S. household electricity use, depending on the climate region and the year. In hot, humid regions like the Southeast, that share can exceed 25%. The compressor draws thousands of watts of power for every hour it runs. Modern inverter air conditioners and high SEER systems can cut that consumption by 30 to 50% compared to older units, but the share of national electricity going into cooling continues to grow every year. And there's the harder problem. Air conditioners cool the inside of buildings by dumping heat outside them. In dense cities, hundreds of thousands of AC units, all running at once, raise the temperature of the surrounding air by several degrees. The hotter the city gets, the more AC people use. The more AC people use, the hotter the city gets. The same refrigerant chemistry that powers the units is also a powerful greenhouse gas when it leaks. The 2016 Kigali Amendment to the Montreal Protocol is now phasing down those refrigerants worldwide, but the transition will take decades. So here's where you land. That cold air pouring out of the vent in your ceiling isn't manufactured cold. It's air that has had its heat carried out of your house and dropped into the alley. It's water vapor that has been condensed out of your living room and drained into a puddle on your patio. It's the descendant of a 25-year-old engineer in Brooklyn solving a problem that had nothing to do with comfort and everything to do with a humor magazine that couldn't get its colors to line up. The same machine that saved a printing schedule in 1902 has since made deserts livable, reshaped American migration, and rewritten the global map of where civilizations choose to grow. If you think air conditioning is weirder than it looks, wait until we get into why the cities that depend on it the most are also the ones where it stops working hardest. Because the heat your AC is dumping into the alley behind your house doesn't disappear. It's still out there. It's still warming the night. And on the hottest nights of the year, in the most air-conditioned cities on Earth, the machine that was supposed to save you is the same machine that's slowly making the night unsurvivable